Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cookiecast. Today is our first of a new series that we're running. It's the NFL Fantasy Football podcast. Myself and Paul Williams sat down for the first time in a little while and decided to start what we're hoping is going to be our weekly NFL Fantasy Football, NFL Season Football podcast. So we do get a little bit off topic somewhere around the middle, and it turns into an NFL, wrestling, UFC, and then back to the NFL podcast. Generally it's NFL, but there's some interesting stuff in the middle. So if you like the NFL, or if you're trying to get into the NFL, or if you're about to draft your fantasy team, you might just get this in time to pick up a few tips on how best to draft a great team. So yeah, give this a listen, see what you think of this. This is me and Paul Williams doing NFL Fantasy Draft Podcast. And that. The theory.
I can see it in the TV.
The theory is I get one of them, and it's podcast time. Let's do this.
Are you just standing?
No, I said.
Oh, right. I was going to say.
Just got move around the room.
Excellent start.
Already off on a tangent, do you mean?
No, not these.
You
not
and
these
I.
guys.
You and I do not do tangents. That's one.
Well, hang on a second.
Do we need to get the? I'll just do that out of the way. Right.
Oh, just completely cover up these nondescript and completely unrecognisable coffee cups.
Red, unknown coffee cups.
Completely unbranded.
Definitely unbranded. So sheer moments before we started recording, we were saying, feels like a literal million years since you and I sat in this room, did a podcast.
I know it's been a long time since we've sat in this room and done a podcast. The last podcast that me and you two did together was actually recorded at location 3. C.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even C, was it? Because it wasn't even in the cabin. It was in their living room.
Yeah.
But that was the first video.
That was the first ever video. And to address those questions, these are not knee-length socks. These are not knee-length socks. These are leg tattoos. Ed was going to finish his one that I uploaded yesterday by doing a video tour of my tattoos, so people understood that there were tattoos. And
bear in mind, if you ever run out of guests or run out of things to do, just do that on your own.
Just talk about
tattoos.
Just
talk people through your tattoos and do a trace along of it. That'd be amazing.
For anybody listening, for anybody watching, I hate tattoos. I think they're disgusting and people should never get them. Anyway.
I'm trying to work out that, man. I honestly can't tell.
It's full-blown ban.
I see.
Love. I'm getting a tattoo in 9 days.
Now, is that the one where podcast alumnus Thomas Quinn is also...
Thomas Quinn is not also...
Getting himself scored.
But 2 weeks after that, he will be in the hot seat.
Because he's in for 2 sessions, isn't he?
3.
3? Oh, I thought he only had 2.
So
has he been booked in for 3, but he might only need 2?
He might only need 2, depending on how they get on, but he's booked in for 3.
He's possibly the most excited about anything I've ever seen him be excited about.
To be fair, it's going to be fucking awesome when it's finished. It's going to be really...
The way he's talked it up does make me sort of think...
Is it time? Let's just check the time.
But then you've got to think of what would dear old mummy say.
Fucking hell, that's awesome. Where'd you get that from? Can you hook me up, brother?
She'd probably say something like, yeah, oh, your grandma would never have liked that. But that's, yeah, neither here nor there.
There we go. Insight into the world of...
My grandmother.
Like and comment below or above or whichever way it is, and tell us, is it time for Paul to get a tattoo?
Basically.
So, not that I say that, but Today on Cookiecast, it's a... Now then, what did we work out it was? It was a what would it be? Pre-kickoff, post-draft NFL podcast.
It's sort of a lead into the new season-y type.
Oh, God, I'm so fucking excited. Let me ask you this. Is it just me, or do you feel like all of the NFL knowledge you had at the end of last season has just evaporated? Is that just me? Because I was looking, I've done 2 drafts in the last week, and I'm looking at players going, no, don't know who you are.
Yeah. The first one that got me was I'm probably going to get his name wrong. Ronald Booker. Could be Raymond Booker. All I know is it's R. Booker, and apparently he's the starting running back for the Denver Broncos.
Because they've dropped.
They've drafted, not drafted. They've traded C.J. Anderson to somebody, or they released him and he's signed with somebody.
But they dropped their first round pick quarterback.
Paxton Lynch.
Yeah.
I don't know if Paxton Lynch has been dropped.
No, they've traded him away.
Simeon's gone somewhere. I think they were talking about getting rid of Lynch.
Yeah, I saw it on the book of face the other day.
They're obviously very, very happy on
Case
Keenum. So obviously Case Keenum, they're thinking is pretty much going to be the guy. But obviously they have to have some sort of backup for the inevitable when he breaks his neck or something like that.
See, I don't have too many issues with that. I don't have too many issues with Case Keenum being in. I felt he was poorly treated at the
Vikings.
Yeah.
What
was he also at the Rams?
Yeah, I think he was. I'm trying to think where he was before that, because I think he got traded to the Vikings at the start of last season.
Yeah, because we
he was at the Rams.
Is it All or Nothing?
All or Nothing. That's
and that was the Rams season, and they drafted
Jared Goff.
Yes, and then there was that whole who's playing this week? Are we putting the new guy in? We got him, cost us money, should we put him in? And that just went on for the entire season. And he played really good games. Case Keenum played really well, but obviously they didn't win, so he didn't play.
So that would end up being the nothing on the All or Nothing.
Yeah, that season just went
off the side of a cliff.
It was nothing like the Cardinals one was fucking awesome, because they nearly went all the way, and it was really tense.
So was theirs the season they got to the NFC Championship? No, yeah, the NFC Championship game. They got beat by the Panthers.
Yeah,
because that was Super Bowl 50, wasn't it?
But like me and Liam were watching it, and we were like, I wonder if they're going to do it. Oh wait, this season's 2 years out of date, and we know they didn't. Did they win the Super Bowl? No, they didn't.
Excellent.
It's like, especially for you, it's like watching the prequels of Star Wars going, I hope Yoda makes it. Anyway. So, drafted in... is that spoiler? Should I have done spoilers?
Seriously?
Yoda doesn't make it. He dies.
Seriously?
He dies in the prequels.
Oh no! Right, okay. I did not get the point you were trying to make. You had me legitimately sort of a little bit worried there. I don't even care. I'm never ever going to watch this.
There's a couple of tense moments where you think, is Yoda going to make it?
Right, I get it. It's bad.
So,
right, okay. I'm on board with you.
I remembered, because I was like, go upstairs and shut the door so that you don't die of cat inhalation, and remembered that my 2016 NFL calendar is on the back of the door.
I was looking at that. Is that Michael Vick playing for the Steelers?
It is.
What the actual fuck?
Oh no. Michael Vick, he's never done anything wrong.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so a lot of my stuff was basically similar to yours, in the case of just going through the draft, just thinking, well, for starters, wow, that person has taken that particular pick way too early.
I'm not going to use any names in this situation, but drafting the Jags defense in the second round.
Don't. Because the person who did that will probably listen to this.
The person who did that probably just as I came out of my mouth, like, he might actually listen.
He will probably listen to this, and he will also probably not appreciate the fact
so
that
that's
his first overall pick was, I believe, Jimmy Garoppolo. And I don't understand.
To that person, no names mentioned, to that person, I imagine you will win this season. So, and that's no joke. I imagine you will walk in this season because, that's the way fantasy goes. So, going back way before how many mock drafts did you do to get you to the draft?
So this is the first season in a long time where up until the day of my first draft, I had not done any mock drafts.
Because you're like me, you've got 2 fantasy.
So I have our league that myself, you, and the rest of all the people that were in it are people that we work with.
The big league, as it's
or there's the 3 out of towners.
Yeah.
And then I have another league that I was asked to join about 4 or 5 seasons ago, when some of my friends.
It feels like longer than that.
No, because I did ours the season after I
remember
joined
asking
theirs.
you if I could join that league when we were at Monk's Cross the first time.
That would probably tie in.
Was that 5 years ago?
Because ours has been going for 3.
Has it been 4?
Has it been 4?
Yeah, because somebody commented on one of the chats.
Maybe, yes, it will be 4. So
seasons.
last year it was won by Matt. The year before that, was it Tim or was it Cole? Because there's Tim and Cole both won it. So if there's 4 seasons, there's been 4 winners. Because I don't think anyone's
won the first year.
We don't talk about that.
Who did he beat to win?
Don't even start, because that's the year that I was in the final of both my leagues and I got beaten in both of them, and I'm not happy about it.
I got beaten. I think I got beaten that year in another league I was running by someone who hadn't set a lineup the entire season, and I was like, I think I was like the kind of 16-0 kind of deal, and got beaten in the final.
No.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's tough. That's tough to take.
It was fucking awful. But we don't talk about that.
So, so it was definitely Toots
won the first year.
Then Tim
won the second year.
We'd have heard about it if Colin had won it. I'm almost certain it's only been going for 3 years. Because the first year it was 8, the second year we moved it to 10, and last season we had it as 12 because we added Phil.
But did Tim win 2 years?
Maybe. All I know is the first year we did it, we only had 8 teams.
Yeah.
And then we moved it to 10.
Uh-huh.
Or did we keep it at 8? And then did we bump it to... Because I can't remember if we bumped it to 8 to 10 to 12. Or if we bumped it straight from 8 to 12. The easiest thing to do would be to go through the bloody history on this. I'll have a look and see if I can find it. Talk amongst yourselves, kids.
So, you mock drafted on the
day of the draft
of your other draft, or
the day of my other league draft. And the only reason I did that was because I didn't know what any order of the players was going to be. I had a quick look with Tom one day when we were out on the lash, because we wanted to know where people were going, so that. And I was surprised when I found out that Todd Gurley wasn't going number 1 overall.
I was surprised about that.
Since Le'Veon Bell's sort of come out and said that he doesn't really want to play for the Steelers, makes it even more baffling why he's going number 1 overall. In most ESPN drafts, I'm never ever going to understand that.
Don't know. I like a mock draft. I feel like it gets my eye in.
It is good. Don't get me wrong. If I could have been asked, I would have loved to have.
But this year, I did things in the periphery of the draft, but I didn't actually mock draft this year. Where normally, by the time I draft, I've done like 30 mock drafts going. I think I know what I'm doing now. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, Rob's done that thing that Ruxin did that season. Rob's joined an American fantasy league. So Rob's in 3 leagues this year.
Rob! So he's mock drafted. He's just basically joined a league.
Yeah, he's gone to do a mock draft and gone, why are these people asking to trade with me? Yeah, he's done a Ruxin. And it's just hysterical. So we've got 3 leagues on the go now.
Yes, Rob. Where's his second league? Is there a spin-off work league? Oh my god!
No, it's my league, my little league.
So how many people are actually in that? Is that only an 8er?
Me, Leanne, Harriet, Mike, Sky, Rob. It's a 6er.
Right. There is absolutely no reason why. Right, your projected points for the week each week is like 200 points projected.
Yeah, because you've
It's a 6-team league. It must be physically impossible to not have a decent team.
It's a good team. Let's.
You must right. So your 2 running backs must be Todd Gurley and Le'Veon Bell potentially.
I don't want to say that's the situation. I'll give you a taste of my Michael.
If it turns out that your 2 running backs are a combination of of Le'Veon Bell or Todd Gurley and then Christian McCaffrey,
so you've got one of them.
Dalvin Cook.
No.
I'm trying to think of a good, the number 1 running back for a team that was still going in like the 2nd or 3rd round in most normal drafts.
Do you want me to tell you the team?
Yes.
Falcons.
You've got Devonta Freeman and Le'Veon Bell.
No,
Todd Gurley. Hang on, I think I've got that in one of my leagues, and I'm in a 10-teamer.
It's alright, my flex is Jaya Jaya.
That could be a lot better.
Obviously I picked up Lynch, because, when do I not?
Yeah. So in my other league, where I've gone for the name of 2 Gurleys, 1 cup, obviously.
Oh, wow.
I have Todd Gurley and Devonta Freeman.
So I want to know if you'll get my new team name for that league, because I just stick with, Cookie for the other one.
Yeah.
This one, I've gone with football-shaped cookie.
Is it from Ace Ventura?
Laces out!
Oh, well, you know, they're little footballs. I love that film. That film is fantastic. And for ages, I was convinced there was a legitimate American football player called Ray Finkel.
But that's the thing, because of the fact that they used Dan Marino, you're there going,
Yeah.
What was it? I might just have a little Google and see. No.
So until this season, in our other league, which my brother is a part of, he's changed his team name to this. However, for the past 2 seasons that he's been in the league,
For the audio and video people who can't see the phone, it's
So one of James's first draft picks was Kareem Hunt.
shout out to
James Williams. He's not dead.
He just gets
Definitely not dead.
because he's not on the podcast.
So yeah, Kareem Hunt, running back, stud running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. So in honour of this, James has decided to call his team Set of Hunts.
That's a bit close to the bone, isn't it?
But his team name for the previous 2 seasons before that was Ray Finkel's Playbook.
I'm looking for Ray Finkel.
And a clean pair of shorts.
Movie.
That film. Oh,
Movie.
right. Can I put it out there? Can it be one for the list? Can it be one for the list? I don't think on the list is enough comedy films.
On MovieCast, there was a conversation about Ace Ventura the other night.
Is Happy Gilmore on the list?
It is on the list.
Excellent.
I just think a few people don't know. James Panas is all over the fact that I told him about a film called Love, Honour and Obey.
Never heard. Well, I've heard of it, but I've
And
never seen it.
that's a comedy. And phenomenal. That's his pick.
And phenomenal.
Oh, it's next level, that movie.
Oh, I know one I'd like to put on the list that apparently seems to be quite a classic that I've got but have never seen. Planes, Trains and Automobiles.
That is a classic.
Good film?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been told good things about it.
Yeah, it's good.
You know, Ed normally says, or Sam normally says that we can maybe get off on a bit of a tangent.
Or Stone Cold Classic.
I don't know what the hell he's on about.
No idea.
Personally. And yes, he says the phrase Stone Cold Classic way too much.
He threw it out the other night in honour of fallen brethren.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely gutted about that.
What?
Because you watched a film I really wanted to see.
No spoilers.
Oh, yeah, I actually can't spoil that one at all because it won't have been released.
Oh,
Oh no, hang on. Will it have been released by the time this goes out?
I'm tempted to release this week.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Oh yeah, because it needs to be current, so it kind of needs to go out before Friday at about 3 a.m.
It does. Oh god, I'm so fucking excited. To be fair, I got back because I came back from the gym. And I was like, oh, now that video's a thing, I have to think about what I'm going to wear. So, I dress like this. But at one point I was like, oh man, I'm really warm, but I really want to put a jersey on to do the
my
podcast.
God, why have we not done that?
I don't know. Do you want me to run and get one of my 800 jerseys?
No, it's fine.
I gave my
I could have worn. I could have
got you my signed Sammy Watkins jersey.
I could have worn my signed Aaron Rodgers jersey. Two players which are both still in the league.
They are still very much in the league. I told you the other day that I'm tempted to buy another Sammy Watkins jersey that isn't signed, so I can actually wear it.
Oh god! Yeah. So the signature is it like so? Whereas mine is just printed on.
Oh no! This has got a certificate of authenticity.
Wow! Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And you can, I think it's got a QR code. You can scan it and it takes you to the website.
Excellent.
Which verifies it.
Did I tell you when I was in Vegas that I went to a memorabilia shop that had loads of that sort of stuff? I think I might have showed you some of the pictures.
Was it in between two of the hotels?
No, it was inside a mall that was inside one of the casinos.
I might have been there. Because I went to a place. Did they have a load of UFC merchandise?
I honestly can't remember. There was so much of it. Like basically, there was so much that they even had it in sections where it wasn't just like. So, for example, I took a load of pictures of Cowboys stuff because I knew I could show it to Steve. I think I've mentioned him every time I've been on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean he's way overdue.
Well, he's actually back. He's actually back this weekend. So if I can steal.
Well, I'm just saying. Hashtag just saying, get on the goddamn podcast. It's the 3-mention rule.
Yeah.
And he's way overdue.
That is true.
I think he'll have to come and do podcast back to back.
Speaking of which, and given some podcast love, he did a NFL season preview podcast with one of his housemates in Spain and a guy that they work with, and it is thoroughly enjoyable.
Disgraceful.
So, if anyone is interested and wants to listen to it, it's called A Judge's Guide is the podcast. So if you just search for A Judge's Guide on iTunes, I think it's on Stitcher, podcast, ball sacks, I have no idea. Patreon, it could be on there, I have no idea. But I know it's definitely on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever it's called now. And Stitcher. And it is very, very good. They break down each team in depth. They give odds on the sort of season and their best picks and punts and stuff like that. So if you're looking to make a little bit of cash off the old NFL, give it a go. Give it a whirl.
I'm always looking to make a little bit of cash off the NFL.
You absolutely
are. Never do though.
No. Well, I mean, did I tell you about our bet that we had on the Super Bowl last season? When Sky Bet were doing the price boost of, I think it was 10-1. And it was points to be scored in every. Both teams to score points in every quarter. And I put I put £2 on it, thinking, well, it might come in. Oh no, maybe it was 20-1, and I put £1 on it, thinking, it'll be 20 quid. And my mate saw it and thought he'd put £10 on it. So basically, when we went to go watch it, we were just cheering on
both teams.
So it was just a case of we wanted each team to get over halfway and then get to the 30 and then just go 3 and out was incredibly quickly. So they just kick a field goal and turn around. Because basically, as soon as a field goal had been scored by either team in each quarter, we was like, right, we can just relax now and just watch the game. Yeah, so my mate won 200 beans off the old points that we scored every quarter.
Nice.
It was thoroughly enjoyable.
I get the odd one at Super Bowl because there's so many things you can bet on in the Super Bowl. You're just like
the goal. I mean, you can even bet on the length of the national anthem.
Yep.
Which I just find bizarre.
Last year I bet on whether Justin Timberlake would be wearing a hat when he came out.
Yeah, I mean that's
And I bet on it.
I'd honestly
and
say
I lost.
I'd honestly say you've got a gambling problem when.
I've got a gambling problem when I can't pick a winner to save my life. That's what keeps my gambling well and truly in check. At one point I was like, I'm definitely going to try and make some money off this, because if you're betting a certain way on these horses, then you're definitely going to win. So I think 20 quid later I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is stupid. It's like, hey, I won 6 quid and lost 8. That's not good maths.
Wasn't there a thing where for like a week or so you were putting like 6 pence bets on horses?
Yeah, they're the ones you got really watch out.
6p for your betting account.
12p on that one to win. Oh, it lost box.
You got up to what, 80 something pence on it, or a couple of quid.
Yeah. Oh, there was a point where because I kept saying I'm just going to get it up to the point I can cash out, and I'd be like, £8.60, I'm nearly there, and it's all good. Because I get greedy.
Oh,
I've put a pound on.
Yeah, I've been burnt with that before.
Maybe if put a pound on. Don't put a pound on.
I've been burnt that way playing the machines in a
stay in the 20p area.
Not good.
Not that we ever go off on a tangent.
No, not us. Doesn't happen. Oh, by the way, I've had a look and I can't seem to find the league histories.
It's fine. I imagine Tim probably would.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out
Tim
twice.
loves a good win.
But he's so humble about it as well.
I don't think he's ever mentioned it, has he? Shout out to Tim Lacey. Should have been here this evening on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Enough said about that, the better.
Oh, was he offered the chance to come on? Turned it down.
He always turns it down. Literally, it's like Tim turned it down Lacey.
He's always there on a Monday night. He's a regular on the MNF.
He loves it.
Loves it. Does indeed love it.
Loves a good marathon.
So, if we've said that this one's potentially going to be going out within the next couple of days, which would tie in with the start of the season, do we just dive straight in with that, or do you want to keep it fantasy based, or what do you want to do?
Well, I mean, really, it's pre-season and fantasy, because I think now that we've added the fantasy into the season, it just adds that whole other level. I remember being this guy who was like, oh man, I really wish people were into, like, American football and basketball and stuff like that, because those are the sports I like. And then it turned out that other people were into American football and basketball, and I'm like, well, we could have been talking about that all this time. I've loved American football since I was way big. I used to be allowed to stay up and watch American football with my dad at crazy o'clock at night when it was on Channel 4, and I think they'd show like one game. Well, that was the thing, 1980.
So when did Red Zone start being a thing then? Because the NFL Network has been going since. I have no idea either.
No idea.
I'd maybe hazard a guess at like the mid 2000s.
Yeah, it's not been a long time. I've had Game Pass, and by you know what I mean by that. I've used Leanne's Game Pass since.
That's better.
We definitely had it the last 4 years. Part of me thinks 5 years. I was aware of it before that, but before that it was very much a case of getting it through, like Channel 4 every now and then would do a programme, but it was either on really late or like Sunday morning seems to ring a bell.
That doesn't surprise me.
And you had to be in the right place at the right time to get that programme. And I think when I used to sleep like 4 hours a day, it was a lot easier to see random shit on TV. And yeah, I'd always try and watch Super Bowl. I'd always try and keep my hand in. But literally, I remember one year at the old house, sat on a huge 3-seater sofa in the very middle, watching the Super Bowl with the sound turned right down, wearing you'll love this, a 49ers scarf.
Oh, God.
Sat there going, come on, on my own in the middle of the night watching the Super Bowl, because in my world I was the only person that I knew that was big into the NFL.
Is that the year that the lights went out?
Really early on.
I think it was like the start of the second quarter or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's the first year. That's the first year I watched it, and that's the first year I watched it in full. And the year before was the one where it was the Pats versus the Giants. And I remember talking to you about it.
Helmet catch?
No, that was the second one. So that was what? So the first that was David Tyree, I think his name was.
Yeah.
That was the first year, and then the second time was the Mario Manningham catch right on the touchline.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was the year when Eli Manning handed the ball off to the running back, who I can't remember, and he was going to say to him, it dawned on him. This is in the Americas game where they talk about the game, and he said that it dawned on him when they were going to snap the ball that it was like, we've left too much time on the clock here. They're going to let us score to give Brady enough time to get the ball down the other end. So he was going to say to the running back, they're going to let you win. Try and eat up as much of the time as you can, so don't score.
Yeah.
And then he said, oh, well, no, because I can't say to him, don't score, because what if he mishears me and doesn't, take the ball and fumbles? Because they had to score to get ahead in the game. So he was like, I won't say anything, I'll just give him the ball. And then you watch it back, and he hands him the ball, then he immediately just goes, no! Because this guy's running. He's running full pace. And there's just this gap just appears in front of him. So the running back tries to stop, and then sort of goes, turns around and just falls into the end zone. And I remember talking to you about it, and you were like, yeah, you need to watch the last play for the Giants, because it's a bit bizarre, because they just let him score.
Yeah.
Just to sort of keep enough time on the clock for Brady. So I think Brady got the ball with 45 seconds to go, which in Brady time is
literally
weeks,
he's like, I'm going to go get a cup of tea, guys. Anybody want anything?
So they did that, and then obviously they didn't score because they didn't win the Super Bowl.
So Bill Burr is a massive Patriots fan. It's so big that he'll have, nothing bad said against them. So, when Deflategate and all that, he was like, you're all mental.
You're all a set of hunts.
But he has this huge thing about the Giants, because obviously the Giants have consistently.
That was the thing. For that 4-year spell, they were their kryptonite.
Yeah.
Weren't they? It was a case of, so I think the first year, I think that was 2007, 2008, maybe. That was the year when the Pats went 18-0, and then got to the Super Bowl and lost the last game of the season. And it was like, whoa.
Yeah, they are literally like kryptonite. Bill Burr always talks about the fact that Eli Manning just sleeps for the first 6 games. It's like Manning just literally asleep for the first 6 games, then realises we're heading into the playoff season and stuff, and then he actually wakes up and starts playing. Did I see that Eli Manning is back in?
Listen to the podcast that I was telling you about earlier that Steve's done, where they just tear Eli Manning to pieces, where they say he's arguably one of, if not the worst quarterback in the league.
I mean, he's not great.
He's not. To say that he's got 2 Super Bowl rings and MVPs is absolutely
hugely controversial when the Giants went, we're not putting Manning in this week. But
who did they play?
It was the right decision.
Who did they start?
Didn't they have a rookie sat on the bench?
I honestly can't remember who it was. Who started that week? Was it Geno Smith?
Geno.
Because I know they signed him from the Jets. I can't remember. Anyway. But yeah, he's back by the sounds of it, and he's the main guy for the coming season.
Yeah, I saw he was listed as number 1.
The starter.
Yeah. And I was like, ooh.
Would not surprise me at all to find that he's been selected in our league. Not even slightly. And if he is owned in our league, it is just the latest in a long line of just absolute dross.
He's never going to put massive points on your board, that's for sure.
I've got a proper dilemma. Oh, he's not. He's an available quarterback. I've got a proper dilemma, and it's involving my first matchup.
Is against me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's whether I need to. It's whether I play the. Do I want to win, or do I want to be a nice person card?
There's no friends in fantasy.
You need to check your lineup because your quarterback isn't going to start. Carson Wentz is injured for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you need to.
Well, he was listed as questionable.
You either need to put Dak in, or you need to pick up another quarterback.
He was listed as questionable when I picked him up, but the blurb was like he'll definitely be a starter for week 1, maybe. And I was like, eh? Like, well, if he's playing week 1, definitely put him in. I probably would if he's playing.
As we've discussed before, and as is raised in the league, what's questionable? They know whether
what
he's
is
playing
questionable. I love that episode.
It's just a great show. So again,
this is the time of year to start the league again.
So going back to what I was saying to you earlier at work, when I was talking about The Good Place, the podcast.
Oh yeah.
I mean, at this point, this isn't even podcast material, is it? It's just me and you chatting.
That's podcast material.
Okay, so the one that was on this week was Jason Mantzoukas, otherwise known as
Rathibam! The man,
the myth,
is a fucking legend. I mean, don't get me wrong. He plays the same part in everything
he is the same character in every TV show I've ever seen him do. Which
even
is
in
Slightly Unhinged.
Even in
Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
No, the cartoon, Big Mouth.
Yes. Yeah,
even in that, he voices that character. It's just like, wow, it really comes through in everything you do. But he is phenomenal.
He's really good at what he does. You can't argue with him. So, like, he's
hands down one of the best things I've ever seen in anything is the episode of the league that introduces Raffy and Dirty Randy to each other.
Yeah.
When he's clean shaven.
I'm a bit of a.
It's terrifying.
I'm a bit of a germaphobe.
So they call me
clean
Randy.
Clean Randall.
For all of you that don't and haven't watched the league,
sort your lives out.
Stop listening to this podcast right now.
Ooh, like, oh my god, I get the chance to use a Samism back on my own.
Stone Cold Classic?
No. It's the case of, in one of his podcasts, he went, Paul, stop listening to this podcast now. Go and watch such and such a film that you were talking about. Get it watched now. So, Sam, if you do listen to this podcast, you dick.
Or anybody.
Stop this podcast right now and go and watch the league. I know it's got foosball and it's got sport ball in it. And you don't like sport ball.
You see, most first episodes of any long-running TV series, and in fact the first series of any long-running TV series, are usually the worst. However, within the first few minutes of the first episode of the league, you're literally just like, what am I watching? What is happening right now? This is either awesome or disturbing or both.
It's just great.
But I am stroking my side. Like, because I've spoken to people who are like, do you like American football? No. Oh, you won't watch the league then? I love the league. What?
Well, to be fair, I can sort of understand that because towards the end and towards the later series, it was very, very loosely based around American football. Yeah, it was. So they started.
I still don't know how I feel about the last series.
They started teetering it off towards the end, where it was like, well, we don't really want it to be about American football anymore. It's just a sitcom now.
Yeah, which is great. So anybody who hasn't watched it, get it watched.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the time of year because inevitably at some point in the next week or so, I'm gonna go. Probably about time to start the league again, yeah. And then I'm just gonna watch it all the way through. What is it? 7 series.
I think it was 8, wasn't it?
Just glorious.
Might have been 8 or 9. It was on for a long time.
I thought it was 7, but
I was trying to work out how many series there'd been that accompanied me having knowledge of the NFL, if that makes sense. So,
because that is one of the things. That's why it should be an accompaniment, an accoutrement to the to the fantasy season, to the NFL season, because it does give you a lot of knowledge about fantasy and the game of American football.
So it was either it was always either the first or second episode of each series was their league's draft. And that was always what used to sort of give me little sort of hints about where I should be drafting certain players.
Yes. So, it was 7 seasons.
Right, okay.
But the first series was only 6 episodes.
Yeah, I remember that. I seem to remember that being a thing.
And then after that, there were like 12, 13 episodes a season. All the way through to... Yeah.
Speaking of this, I watched a film the other day that had is it Frank the Body Giubiati?
Well, he's all over the shop now. He's in Cock Blockers.
That was the film I watched.
There you go then.
But obviously I watched that because it had John Cena.
Have you seen what John Cena looks like these days?
He's got a lot of hair. Well, not a lot of hair, but for him, his hair is long.
Doing some kind of bodybuilding thing, and
surprise me.
He's like.
He's always been jacked.
You know that he's been jacked, but he was quite big. He's trimmed right down.
Oh yeah,
he's literally just vein.
He'll just be muscle. Ripped to pieces.
He's absolutely shredded. There was I'd seen a video the other day of him releasing a video on Twitter or Instagram, and he is just cut. And the video was like, he's doing something to do with bodybuilding, but I think it's made him look a lot older. He looks like he's aged a bit in his face, because his face now doesn't fit his body, like his head doesn't fit his body.
But do you not
anymore.
reckon that sort of thing happened with The Rock to a certain extent? Like obviously, like when he started like doing, like in the last sort of 3 or 4 years, the certain stuff that The Rock's been in, his beard's looking a bit tinged.
Well, yeah, I mean he's got the grey in there.
So. I mean, he can probably pull it off a bit more because he's bald.
Oh, Jesus, look at him. Look.
Mr. Jonathan.
Oh, well, there's a picture.
Oh, that's not him now. That's not him now. That's when he first started.
But, like...
I mean, to be fair, it could be that you've got old photos of him.
No, this was a video from recently.
Oh, right, okay.
Like I say, I saw it the other day, and he was...
Oh, he absolutely is. He absolutely is. Like,
I mean, that's him in the ring.
Beyond control.
Just shredded.
But he's always been a body guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been one of the more muscular of the wrestlers. To say that they do love being absolutely ripped in general.
Yes, very true.
Who's the wrestler that's walked away recently? No, it's not Braun Strowman. It's somebody like a big guy. He was beardy. I saw something where he was sat on a chair in the ring, and then he's literally gone. I'm done, and has done one.
It's a guy called Kevin Owens, and it was a storyline. So he's come back because I've just watched Raw from this week, and he's already like sort of come back into it. So it must have just been like a storyline and stuff. What they're doing with it, yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, should be something to watch in the next coming weeks to make more sort of sense of what he's trying to do. Because I wasn't entirely sure what he was doing, to be honest with you.
So obviously, as we're doing NFL draft. NFL podcast. Now's the time to say Brock Lesnar's return to the UFC. Yeah. Now, this is the forum for that conversation. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that caught me off guard a bit.
No. So, just to give a bit of an outline and a backstory to these things. There was somebody had asked both of us at some point who our favourite NFL team was a few years. This was like 2 or 3 years ago, and both of us were like, don't really have a team, more like a player, and that's when Lynch was just top of his game, and we were just like, it's more like Lynch than a team or anything. Although the Seahawks were dominating at that point in time. Mm-hmm. But I think you and I have spoken about this on a podcast. We've done a couple of wrestling-based podcasts, or certainly ones where we've talked about wrestling. My history of wrestling was I did the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior, Big Boss Man phase.
Excellent. Some people would say the best phase, because that was like the first big wrestling boom.
Yeah.
Like early to late 80s.
But then I've also seen Big Daddy live at the Barbican. You know.
I mean that.
It was awesome.
That's his own standalone thing.
It was awesome.
Brilliant.
So that's that. Then I exit stage right. Then, as you know, mate of mine, he was huge into wrestling when I was sort of start of secondary school, and it was a bit like, really? And it was like, oh no, you're really into wrestling, right? Okay, and that was just before the Attitude Era kicked off, which again, to me, I think is probably the best.
I'd say early to mid 90s.
Yeah, which was, again...
Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, he was a huge Bret Hart fan.
Yeah.
So I inadvertently got sort of back into it there. And then I would say SmackDown Raw Saturday morning, early 2000 was a point in time where
that would make sense with your Brock Lesnar fascination.
So, now I'm just mentally going back through this podcast and wondering if somebody was to work out how much time we've spent talking about large, muscular men.
I'm sure you're trying to get at something here, Andrew, but I can't possibly...
I don't know where this is going, but...
Where is the baby oil, by the way?
I was just about to say, break out the baby oil. So, I remember Brock Lesnar coming into the WWE. Let's just
it would have just
that now.
turned over
it
to
would have
E
just flipped over
when he first started.
And I can safe to say at that point in time, I had never seen anything like Brock Lesnar.
He was ripped beyond belief.
But he wasn't just ripped. He's just massive.
So the best phrase I've ever heard to describe a wrestler wasn't about him, but was about a guy built very, very similar to him. So there's a guy who's back in it now called Bobby Lashley, and he's very much. He looks. You could argue that he is basically the same guy as Brock Lesnar. The only differential being that he is a black man, and Brock Lesnar is a white man.
I don't see colour, so I wouldn't.
Exactly, but if you were to put them side by side, I'd comfortably say they're probably maybe Lashley's a bit smaller height wise, but they are both like unbelievably muscular. I believe the phrase that Vince McMahon would use, like, "Oh, look at the vascularity."
So I saw a video the other day. This is what ties it in as the UFC thing. So I was just like, I'd never seen anything like this mountainous man. The man is ginormous, and he came in to the wrestling world and just took it by storm and absolutely dominated. I remember watching live Brock Lesnar suplex off the top rope, the Big Show, and the ring collapsing, and it was just like, holy, because you know, wrestling's fake, all that. My favourite joke, which I keep using, is, if wrestling's fake, why is it when I slam my wife through a table, she had to go to hospital? Love it, favourite joke. Love that joke. So, I don't care that wrestling's fake. I don't care that he's saying to the other guy, right, I'm going to do this and this is going to happen, and it's all set up. I don't give a shit about that. When you can lift somebody who is 500 pounds, 7 foot tall as well, 500 pounds, off the ground whilst you are 20 feet in the air, and then the falling bit's the easy bit, but so you don't break your back and every other part of your body, whilst the ring is collapsing in on itself, I don't give a shit if it's fake. That is and I saw that live, and it was just like fucking normal.
It is a bit ridiculous.
Brock Lesnar is like I say, I watched the video the other day which talked about the fact that Cormier.
So it's Daniel Cormier is the UFC heavyweight champion at the moment.
And this is how you were like, well, this happened 6 months ago, but
6 weeks.
I only saw the video the other day. So I followed Brock Lesnar through the wrestling time. I even followed him when he went to the NFL to play for the Vikings on defense. I've always said if I could have any jersey, it would be a Lesnar, because he was 99, Lesnar 99 Minnesota Vikings jersey. So there's that, and then he went off into the UFC and had 4 fights and became heavyweight champion of the UFC. Then he got very sick and then lost his title very quickly. Had a comeback. Because he went back to wrestling, didn't he? And then he came back.
Yeah, so I think he quit. He maybe left the UFC in 2010, 2011,
yeah,
something like that. And then he right, which is ridiculous to look back now, but he let himself go because when he came back to the wrestling, his arms were just like big, but they weren't defined. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but he'd been super sick.
Well, I'm assuming he must still have diverticulitis
because he had so much of his stomach removed.
I think someone said. Well, I think it's his lower intestine. They had to remove so many feet.
Yeah.
Of his lower intestine or something. I mean, it sounds horrible. Well, yeah, I don't really understand diverticulitis. I need to look it up more.
He was coughing up blood like hours before going into that UFC fight.
Like someone tried to explain it to me before. It was basically they said like the way his body works is that like the guys that he fights just know that if they get in there and they can get to him, all they need to do is basically just punch him around the kidneys. Yeah. And he'll just and down it goes. And I think like a sack of shit.
I think I described that fight as watching somebody kick a puppy in the face because Brock Lesnar walked in. He had a massive full beard. He looked like hammered shit. He'd lost that before he walked in there. And I think everybody knew he was going to get beaten. He knew he was going to get beaten. He was not in a fit state. So he walked in, got the shit kicked out of him, lost the title, and that was the end of that.
I mean, fair play to him, because like most other people would just go, I can't fight, I'll relinquish the belt.
I can't do it. So
but at least he was willing to come in and get his absolute fucking face caved in. Jesus Christ.
So then he went back to wrestling. Then he was like, I still want to do the UFC. And then there was all the controversy. So there was the guy who was fighting was not the person he should have been fighting. He was just a big guy, and big in certain terms. There was obviously all the steroid stuff, which ultimately got him suspended in the end.
Not from wrestling, though, for some strange reason.
I don't know why that is.
Odd.
Strange. And that was the end of that. So then he went back to the wrestling. He's been doing the wrestling, but then wasn't that the thing that he signed this monstrous contract with WWE and then had to only appear twice in a year?
When he first came back to the wrestling, that was in 2012, and the rumor was that he'd signed a year's contract, where it was something ridiculous like $5 million for 10 contracted dates. So many of those dates were taken up with. So obviously, like, he came back the night after WrestleMania 28.
Yeah.
So his first match that he had back was against John Cena at the following pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
So the night that he appeared and the pay-per-view will have been 2 of his dates.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was at least one of the Raws in between that period.
Yeah.
So that's one of his other dates. So he busts through his first like 3 or 4 dates in like the first month that he was there. And then for the rest of the year he just turned up sporadically here and there. But yeah, the rumour was that he was like $5 million for 10 days. So it was like $500,000 every time he showed up. And then they sort of like kept re-signing him, and they must have worked out another similar deal. But he's been back He's been contracted to the WWE since 2012, and the most shows he's probably done in 1 year is maybe 20. That's like top level. If you take into account all the pay-per-views, and normally the pay-per-views that he's at, he'll be at the Raw the week of, and sometimes the Raw the night after. So that basically in that week span, that's three of his days. Yeah. So I'd say maybe you're looking at maybe 20 days, which isn't bad for a man who's like getting paid 5, 6, 7 million for working.
Yeah. So this video I watched the other day announced Brock Lesnar's return to the UFC. It showed the bit like what you were saying today about when Cormier won the belt or retained the belt. I think did he win it?
No, he won it. So he won it. So he won it. Stipe Miocic was the champion going in.
But was aware that Brock Lesnar was in the crowd. There'd been a load of shit before. Well, this is my point with the UFC. People say that wrestling's all like, a work. Well, if they always say it's fake and stuff like that. I'm like, well, I know it is. It's a staged competition and stuff like that. I'm starting to get to the stage now where I'm thinking UFC, pretty much the fucking same. They're taking a little bit of the lead from the wrestling. It doesn't surprise me that UFC fighters go to the wrestling and wrestlers go up to the UFC.
Perfect example of this.
Ronda Rousey.
About 4 or 5 years ago, Ronda Rousey said, "Oh yeah, I'm a bit burnt out with this. I'm going to take a break after my next fight." She was the champion going into that fight. Mm-hmm. She'd already said she was going to take a break. Mm-hmm. What was the outcome of that fight?
I think she lost.
No, surely not.
Did she lose?
I think she got beat, and I'm pretty sure that's the first time she'd ever been beaten.
That's correct. It was, yeah.
Well, how odd is that?
If only she had somewhere that she could go from the UFC that would probably pay her similar sort of money.
Weird that, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, we're getting off onto a slightly, different topic.
I'll get to the. So I watched this video today. So it showed Brock Lesnar getting called out. Brock Lesnar coming into the ring, essentially starting a fight. Now here's the thing. There's one person that basically narrates this video.
Did you see the best bit when he punched the camera and broke the camera?
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely ridiculous.
So there's the one person that's essentially narrating this video is, if I'm honest, somebody that I always would have thought wouldn't have a lot of time for Brock Lesnar.
Is it Rogan?
But Rogan fucking loves him. So Rogan's there going. Rogan did the Brock Lesnar's a man out of time. Brock Lesnar would be better suited on a horse swinging an axe on a battlefield.
He is a caveman in the
and the man is just
in the 20th century.
He's just
21st
monstrous. Century. And I'm getting back to why we're actually sitting here. I am super excited that the NFL season's back. I honestly don't know what I'd do with my time when we're not obsessing about the NFL.
It doesn't seem like it's been 7 months.
Oh God!
In fact, was it one of the first podcasts we did when we were recording? We were like, yeah, I'm just basically ticking off the months.
Yeah.
Until the NFL's back.
Yeah, because we started in March, so that'll be not long after.
So how weird is that?
Yeah, podcast to podcast. I'm super excited that the NFL's back. I finally have something to talk to you people at work about.
So on Sunday,
I've spoken to Tim more in the last week.
Correct. So on Sunday, I saw the standard tweet that was I think it was either Andrew Luck or another quarterback running off after having thrown a touchdown. It was the gif of that captioned with that feeling when you know it's the last Sunday without football until March or like early or late February.
Yeah, can't fucking wait. I think I might have even convinced Thomas Quinn to get involved for this year's Super Bowl. Well, the next Super Bowl, because it's still this year. But
interesting.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh yeah, I can never imagine sitting and watching it." And I was like, "It's because you're doing it wrong, Tom. You need to make it an event. You need to be like, it's American food, it's American drinks, it's American sweets. It's just an event."
So last year was the first year I've been out to watch it, and that's the best atmosphere I've had watching it. There was only 3 of us, and we went to a bar. Well, it wasn't even a bar, it was a bowling alley in Leeds that just also happened to like had a diner
right.
and a bar.
Yeah.
And it was a case of, because they had the licence and stuff, they were like, there's the price. It was £50 per table. But as part of your table, you got 2 4-pint pitchers of beer. You got a platter that will be delivered at half time. And you got discount on drinks and discount on if you wanted bowling and stuff like that. So we worked it out. We went through the menu and priced up everything that you would have bought individually. The platter itself was, I think, £25 just on a standard day in the bowling alley.
Yeah.
And the pitchers of beer was Sam Adams Boston Lager. So obviously quite apt, given the fact it was the Patriots, because they're from New England, Boston area. And that normally retails at least $4.50 a pint. So you were looking at £20 for the pitchers on an average day.
Yeah, well worth
or
it.
£15 say. So basically, when you had it all together, you were basically watching the game for free, and you got the food and drinks, and it would have cost you exactly the same.
Yeah.
If you just bought them anyway.
Yeah.
So we looked at it as like, oh, brilliant. It might have been like, it was only £16 each or something like that.
I mean, I always invite you to come here because we do a fairly substantial Super Bowl thing. We've had a couple of years, my sister and brother-in-law, they've come, and we just do, it's all American all evening. It's American food. We do food before, which is usually like nachos and chili and, you know, all the trimmings, your jalapenos, all, like, I do a beer cheese sauce.
I think you've talked me through this before. It does sound good.
It's just off the charts. And then at half time, it's like dogs in buns and burgers and all that. It's just more about more. Leanne will do everybody a party bag that's just full of like American sweets. Last year we had Patriots and Eagles balloons. Some years she'll do like a mask with like a quarterback face on and stuff. I think we had like Cam Newton one year, and it's just, we just make it this huge event. So I'm super excited. I can start wearing it because it's the season as well. I can start wearing my jerseys again. I can start getting, you know, our Jersey Fridays. You know, or still be Jersey Friday when I'm not there. Okay. I'll still be wearing. I'll be wearing my jerseys on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Unbelievable. Jersey Fridays and you don't even work. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, whatever. But I'm also super excited about Brock Lesnar's return to the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting.
That we have to do something.
We'll probably. Well, the best thing about that is the fact that it's a Saturday. So the UFC stuff, that's where the UFC has the edge over WWE when it comes to their pay-per-views, because they're on a Saturday night. So you can justify staying up late to watch it, even though it only starts at like 4 in the fucking morning anyway, because they're always in Vegas.
Yeah.
It was so weird that. So when they did, like, I think they did one in Manchester maybe 2 years ago or something like that, and to keep it in line with the main buying audience, so obviously America,
Vegas, baby,
they started it at 1 in the morning here.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? But yeah,
we'll just smash a whiskey and Scar night with a UFC.
Can you imagine? But that's the thing. It's a case of like we'd have to do it either on the same night and watch it live,
or we'd have to watch it live,
or try and avoid the results and then watch it later in the week. And that's always tough. Especially in the social media.
A number of times I've said to you, let's watch it like tomorrow night rather than watching it live. And by the time I've got to work, you're like, I already know all the results. Yeah,
because I forget and I just go on Twitter and I'm just
okay. I don't know the results. It'll be new to me.
But yeah, I'd be well up for that. Like, we should, like you say, get the whiskey and cigar, because organised fighting. Is that James Keep's erection I can hear? I imagine he'd be up for watching it.
It's alcohol and violence.
Tom will probably be up for watching it. Rob sounds like he'd be up for watching it. Basically, all the lads would be up. I mean, we might even be able to convince Sam and Ed to watch it, Potentially.
There was something where surprisingly Ed was like, yeah, I'll be up for that.
And
Might have been a sports ball.
And because it's on BT Sport,
which I have.
I also have, and you can get the app. So it's a case of if we could work out where to cast from phone to TV.
I've got Apple TV.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of obviously if we do it here, I won't be able to come.
This TV, which nobody can see because it's behind. It's you know. But this TV has had an update recently because all of the stuff down there is connected to the internet. This TV's had an internet update recently. So now, if I play a video on my phone, like on Facebook or something,
Automatically casts?
this banner that comes across the top and it's like, do you want to show your video on the TV? Allow, dismiss. All this. I'm like, has that always done that? No, I don't think I want to. I'm just watching it on my phone, thank you. But thanks for asking. Go away. So there's multiple ways to get things on the TV these days.
Well, I was going to say if we do it at Ed's house, perfect. Sam's house, perfect. James's house, perfect. Here, possibly not so perfect for me, but. What I could do is I could watch it up here.
I had to smuggle.
You like to not watch it downstairs, and I'll just shout down. It's looking really good.
I had to smuggle you in under the cover of darkness.
And I can already feel myself getting a little.
I can hear it. It started to.
Excuse me. I'm just going to have to stand up momentarily and have a little blast on the old.
Fill those lungs. So, if you had to throw out some tips for any budding, anybody that hasn't drafted at this point in time, if you had to throw out some tips, because a few of us pointed out to you that
for starters, they're leaving it late. They're leaving it very late, unless they're doing their draft tomorrow.
Maybe somebody's drafting tomorrow. Maybe they want to make sure all players are in prime position.
Well, that is true.
So that they
to be fair.
Draft Carson Wentz.
To be fair, if they hadn't drafted up until about I think it was maybe Monday, Tuesday of last week, Jarrett McKinnon was still available, and he's since gone down with a season-ending ACL tear.
It's weird,
and he was the 49ers' best back.
Yeah, it's just
so that shafted someone. Oh my god! It's just dawned on me. The guy who won our league in my other league last season, his first choice running back pair. Jarrett McKinnon and Le'Veon Bell. So he basically hasn't got a running back for week one. He's going to have to go in with his backups.
Oof. Yeah, so a couple of people had pointed out or had mentioned to you in passing that they weren't sure about your drafting strategy this time round because you drafted over 11 players.
Right, so the way it works, for anyone who doesn't, for anyone, any rookies out there, or anyone who's not done a NFL-based fantasy game before. So the way it works is you have a 16-slot roster.
Slot.
Of that roster, each week you will start one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a defense, a kicker, and what's known as a flex position. Now in the flex position you can play any running back, any wide receiver or any tight end, depending on which person on your roster you feel will score the most points. You can't play another quarterback there.
Can you imagine a situation where you would put a tight end in your flex?
Yes, I have done this before. I did it in my first season when I think I had Tyler Eifert from the Bengals, and I had another guy who was a fairly decent. I think I might have had Jimmy Graham.
I think I've drafted Tyler Eifert in every single season that I've ever done fantasy.
I've
in one league at minimum.
I'm almost convinced.
If I go on there right now, I will have Tyler Eifert.
I'm almost convinced in every season I've played, like you just said there, in one team or another, I have always had Doug Baldwin. He always seems to end up on my roster.
This is where I don't have him as a player. But maybe not.
So...
who's that right there?
Classic.
Load
Tyler Eifert. So, to go back to what we were saying there, so you have this slot of 16 players.
Yep.
You have to play 9 each week. I think that adds up. So 2 backs,
2 wide receivers,
2 wide receivers, your quarterback, your tight end, your defence, your kicker, and your flex. Yeah, so 9. So you always have 7 players on your bench. Now, the way I was taught by the guys that I joined the league with first was that you're best off in the first sort of 8 to possibly even 10 rounds, go heavy on running backs and wide receivers. Because the differential in the good running backs in the league to the bad running backs in the league is huge.
Yeah, massive.
The differential between the good wide receivers in the league and the bad wide receivers in the league, not quite as big, but still pretty large.
I noticed, if you actually look when you do the draft, there's a point where your points, so you've got
projected points.
Yeah, where your points literally drop off a cliff. It's like 116, 89. Like,
because when you get to that point, so basically once you've drafted the 32 starting running backs for the league, in theory there shouldn't be any running backs left that are going to score you regular points on a regular basis throughout the season, because most teams will play a 1 running back system where they'll give the majority of the handoffs to that one guy who will just absolutely pound the ball all the time. So a perfect example will be if you draft Ezekiel Elliott, which I did in our league.
I think I drafted him in the other league.
If you take Ezekiel Elliott, you basically get the Dallas Cowboys running game.
Yeah.
Because they'll have another couple of running backs that will support him, but he is a 3-down back.
Yeah.
He's going to take all the reps. You might get a vulture where he'll get it 95 yards to the opposition's goal line, and then they'll bring in, it used to be Darren McFadden, but I think he's gone now. Or it was Alfred Morris, but he's gone now. He's gone to the 49ers, and he's going to basically take Jared McKinnon's job.
Yep.
So you'd normally have a case of, to give Zeke a rest, they'd put one of those 2 in to score the touchdown, and that's where you go absolutely fucking insane as a fantasy football owner, because they've done all that work to get you up the pitch, and then someone comes in and vultures you 6 points with his fucking 1 touch of the game. It's like, you fucking bastard.
Just those 3 yards there, love it.
So, if you, in the first round, I mean, we've already mentioned him tonight, not by name, but if you in the first round decide to, in theory, waste your first round pick by taking a quarterback that's not even ranked in the top 5, you've kind of shafted yourself in the fact that you won't pick again.
Again, I will say at this point in time, I can fully understand why that person picked that player. I fully understand it. I know. I had a couple of conversations in the week running up to the draft with a couple of different people who were both saying, "Oh yeah, I'm getting Jimmy G." And as I said to them, my answer to them was, "Well, the 49ers certainly think he's worth it because they paid a shed load of money for him."
So I keep coming back to it, but in that Judges preview podcast that I was talking about that Steve's done, they go on to discuss the fact that they think he could be the best quarterback in the league for the next 10 years.
49ers certainly
potentially. So I mean, it's saying something that the Patriots were very, not unwilling, because obviously they got rid of him in the end, but they were very reluctant.
Oh, there was definitely so they worked a major negotiation on that one, and you then have to look at his performance when he went to the 49ers.
Not lost a game.
Didn't lose a single game.
So he's played 6. I think he started 6 games. He's won every single one of them.
So
although maybe it was 4 with the Niners and the 2 that he'd started last season with the Pats when Brady had his suspension or injuries or something like that. Or was that the start of the season before that he had those games? I can't remember. But yeah, in the 6 games I think that he's played, or it's either the 6 or the 8, he's played, basically every game he's played, he's won.
Yeah. Which...
it might... I mean, some of those games, it might be a case of it was towards the end of the season, the 49ers had nothing to play for because they'd already lost loads and were never going to get in the playoffs. And they were up against teams who were already in the playoffs and had no need to start their starters because they needed to rest them for the playoffs. So maybe that was the case. But at the end of the day, in the NFL, a win's a win. For me.
Yeah.
So...
most definitely.
So, going back to what we were saying about fantasy...
Go on.
So, the way I was taught was that because the differential is so huge, you need to go heavy on your running backs and wide receivers first, and then start picking up your individual skill positions. So, you pick up your quarterback in, say, rounds 8 to 10, unless you're going to get like an Aaron Rodgers, a Drew Brees, in which case you might have to spend a 6th or 7th round pick getting them.
So the way I was always taught to do it, the first player you pick up, whether you draft in first, whether you draft in last, whether you draft in the middle, the first player you pick up is a running back. Go way up there.
It's slightly changed a bit now because Antonio Brown's such a good wide receiver. He can maybe score you as many points as a running back. And he is basically the best wide receiver in the game. So he's always going like 5, 6 overall in drafts.
But you want to get yourself way up there.
Oh, yeah.
With the top tier running backs. So then it comes around to your pick again. Get yourself another running back. Straight off the bat.
Same thing.
You're too deep in your running backs, so that's 2 of your picks gone and you're already secured some good players. Immediately jump over to your wide receivers and pick yourself up a couple of good wide receivers. Jump back to running backs, because let's not forget you've got flex, and let's face it, you're probably putting a running back in your flex position, so you pick up another running back, and that point you have to make a decision. Now I pick on the year usually, so the question is, do you get another running back then, or do you do it back to your wide receiver and get another good wide receiver?
Yep.
So you're doing this running back wide receiver combo. You do that for your first 6 picks sort of area?
I don't even start looking at other positions until at least round 6.
Yeah.
I mean, the only alternative is if you're drafting. I mean, it's so different though, because if you get the chance to take Gronk, you always should take him.
Yeah. So at that point, you jump over to your tight end.
I mean, even
your tight ends.
But even then, I was told tight end, because the worst tight end in the league are still going to score you the same amount of points as the 2nd, 3rd, 4th best tight ends in the league. Really, it's getting a little bit the gap's getting a little bit wider now because you've not just got Gronk. Because for a while it was Rob Gronkowski and then the other 31 tight ends in the league.
Then you go.
But now,
a name I know.
But now, in theory, you've got Gronk, you've got oh my god, I forgot his name. Travis Kelce at the Chiefs, Zach Ertz at the Eagles. Yeah. You could argue Jimmy Graham with a better quarterback thrown to him.
I will often pick up Jimmy Graham.
Nothing wrong with Jimmy Graham. Yeah. I mean, there's maybe 4 or 5 really good tight ends that will be going in the top 30, 40 picks in a draft. And then after that, just forget it. Just get one. Just get one in like round 10 or something like that.
And then you want to jump over to your quarterback, get a half decent quarterback, because by then, if you're playing it right, chances are a lot of the quarterbacks have gone because people have panicked and gone, I want Brady, I want Rodgers.
So the thing with the quarterback, tight end, defense, kicker, in theory, you could spend an entire season streaming those players. So what that means is, I never knew this until a couple of seasons ago, what the term streaming means is that you basically don't have a set defence, kicker, tight end, quarterback for the season. You just do it based on the waiver wire or the free agency.
What's available that week?
You just basically have a look at the players that are playing that week in the available matchups. Sorry, the available players from the matchups that are set, and you just basically pick the best available quarterback, the best available tight end, the best available defence.
So I get a quarterback, and then whether I've gone, maybe I need another tight end, maybe I need another quarterback at that point. And then we're down into the lower tier stuff. Now, the one thing I will say, and I said this on the chat when we were drafting our work league, the one thing you have to remember when you are picking a defence is the only position that can get you a minus score. Now, you could have the best quarterback in the league who scores you 20 points that week, but if your defence got you -1, you're fucked. Just be aware your defence is a position that can get you a minus score.
And you could have the best defence in the league,
They can still get you a minus.
It'll be sod's law that the week that you have the defence is the week that it's playing your quarterback. Yeah. And then you've got that real dilemma of which one do you drop. Because you can't really play against yourself because you're costing yourself.
And what I will always say is the one week you drop, that will be the week that team does phenomenal.
Yeah, so I almost had that problem the start of last season. I had drafted. I honestly can't remember what I drafted. I think I drafted Derek Carr as my quarterback, and I had Alex Smith as my backup. So I had Derek Carr in for the first week, and that was the week it was Patriots versus the Chiefs as the first Thursday night game, or the first game of the regular season. And I think the Chiefs absolutely smoked them.
Yeah, they destroyed.
It was like 30. It was something like 14-30 something, or something like that. And I think Alex Smith threw for 400 odd yards, 3 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt rushed for 150 yards or something like that. Yep. And he was sat on my bench, and I think he scored 39 points. And I was like, ooh.
Because we've all got up the next day and checked our fantasy thing, knowing that we have to go to work, to everyone going, just remind me how many points your bench got last night, because it looked like a lot.
There is nothing worse in fantasy than when your bench
outscores your
starters.
Yeah. Just to finish off your draft for your rookies out there.
Oh, yes.
Last, always last is a kicker. Kickers literally don't mean anything.
Yeah, but in our league, people seem to forget this and take kickers in the 6th round and stuff, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
I will never understand taking a kicker anything other than last. Dead fucking last.
The points your kicker scores you is so meaningless.
I think you and I probably draft in a similar way.
Yeah.
We didn't disagree on any of that.
No.
You get your running backs, you get your wide receivers, alternators like that, and so on and so forth.
But the point the point that started this all off was the fact that there's people in the league that, I don't know if it was a case of were annoyed at my drafting techniques or were questioning my drafting technique.
Because what we've talked about this entire time is we've got people in our league that will draft a defence in round 2. We've got people in our league that go, let's get a quarterback, or you could get.
Tom's so funny though, because Tom panics every
He's so terrified he's not going to get Aaron Rodgers.
Because he's had Aaron Rodgers once, and he absolutely loves him. He went all out to get him last year, and he lasted 3 weeks before he popped his collarbone out or something like that.
Bless him.
And even though he's done that, I know he's signed this huge contract, and he's
100 million for 4 years.
Something ridiculous. I thought it was 160 over 4 years, but
yeah.
So much of it is guaranteed.
So much of it's guaranteed.
Didn't know this until shocking, listening to the Judge's Guide podcast. So the contract that Kirk Cousins signed in Minnesota, 100% guaranteed. The first contract of its kind.
That's great sport
in the NFL.
Sport agency.
That is insane. I don't know how much it's for. I'll be amazed if it's anything more than 60 to 80 million.
I was going to say, it won't be in your hundreds of millions. It'll be a lower figure, but guaranteed.
But when you consider they were one game from the Super Bowl last season, I mean, they got absolutely annihilated by the Eagles in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, they did.
But in theory, because their defense is smoking hot, their defense is good.
Yeah.
Then they've got some really good receivers: Diggs, Thielen,
And
Kyle Rudolph. There's another tight end I forgot. Kyle Rudolph's a really good tight end.
as we know, the team that goes to the Super Bowl doesn't go with because they've got the best offense.
Your defense.
Your defense wins you games and gets you to the Super Bowl, and your defense wins you Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Although, to be fair, that Super Bowl was won by Nick Foles because neither team's defense stepped up. It was terrible. If you were watching that game as a defensive coach, you'd have been shaking your head because, for one, the amount of that's the sheer fact that that Tom Brady threw for the most yards of any game he's ever played.
Yeah, and still lost. Yeah,
I think it was the most yards
in the first.
It was the most yards of any game played ever. I think.
Yeah, in the first
most yards
half,
of offense.
They'd done more yards than any Super Bowl in history or something.
That
they still had a half to go. It was like,
but yeah, wow. I'm pretty sure it broke every record in the book. So most yards of any game ever. Tom Brady, most passing yards in any game he's ever played.
Yeah.
Probably the most points scored in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was off the charts.
I mean, it was fantastic to watch.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
If you were watching that as a defensive coach or a defensive sort of minded player, you'd be thinking, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
But yeah, so if the Vikings, if he hits the ground running in Minnesota, they could go a long way.
Yeah. I've quite enjoyed Vikings football for a few years now. I had the Viking defence. Don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before, and unfortunately there was a week where I was like, I'm not going to play the Vikings this week, and yeah, like I say, fantasy football is a fickle bitch.
I seem to remember that, and I'm pretty sure the worst thing was I even said to you, I think you should make changes to your team. And you're like, nah, it'll be fine. I was like,
the thing about fantasy is you need a certain level of confidence to play fantasy football. Unfortunately, confidence don't mean shit in fantasy. So you're there going, no, I'm making the right choice here. And then, like say, you wake up on a Monday morning, you check the app, and you're like, because it's always the games you watch the start of. You ever notice you watch the start of a game, you're like, hey, I can go to bed now, this game's in the bag.
Well, there are a few, laws of fantasy.
You will always get shafted.
The main one is that whenever I play Matthew, son of a bitch, absolute shit stain.
I think we should have him on, because the idea is we're going to try and do a weekly NFL. I don't know how easy that's going to be to fit in because we're both busy men. Paul's busy.
I maintain.
Paul's busy.
I think
all the time.
I honestly think we could do it after work.
Yeah. Do it whenever.
But
do it whenever.
Potentially even at work. After work.
I said this after the time that we never did anything anywhere near the work building. But I've been thinking this loads. Because you think about the meeting rooms at work.
Well, starters, they won't be used after 5.
Exactly. You could take your pick of meeting rooms after 5 o'clock, literally throw a dart and just go that one. And it's a simple case of all I have to do is stick the stuff in the car, and then it's there, and then we go, right, we've finished work now, let's go and do this for an hour, and then let's go home or to the gym.
I think it will be perfect, personally.
Deal.
But yeah, I'm like I said, we did say we were going to do a weekly.
So we're going to try and do a weekly one, which is a fantasy roundup.
What we could do is we could do it as me and you as the sort of the regulars, and we basically get another person
somebody
from the league.
So that's what I said. Matthew Tooties Hurley should be on one week where you can just go, so how did you win this week, you son of a bitch?
Or we could try and work it out where it's well, actually, next week's one is perfect because we could just do it as us two because
we're playing this week.
We're playing each other this week. So we could do it where we get one of our opponents in from the previous week, and we talk through the game. If we could get both in, that'd be perfect. That'd be ideal. but obviously that's not going to be feasible.
Can I just point out at this point in time? There is one man who is so far overdue being on a podcast. It is criminal. It isn't Tim Lacey.
I think I know.
It isn't Steve.
Is it? Is it a man who shares the same initials as myself? Oh, no. It'll be the other guy you're thinking of.
Oh, no. He categorically said he would never do it.
Is it the Raffy Bomb?
The Raffy Bomb. Robert Rafton has not, to this point in time, done a podcast, and it's fucking criminal. Although that's not actually true. He was on a podcast that we couldn't fired into the sun thanks to the...
that was the Masters? That was the Masters recording.
Yes, and I didn't get sued by the PGA.
Oh my god, my good sweet lord, that was the day that Edward Dench played basketball in his bare stocking feet. What?
It was. While smoking a cigarette and was better than every single one of us.
Yeah, I maintain that is the scariest thing I've ever seen, the fact that Ed Dench is good at basketball.
And not just a little. Not a little bit. He was really good.
Terrifying.
He's another one that refers to things like that as sports
ball.
Yeah, it was bonkers.
I can't play the sports balls.
Can't play the sports ball. Scored 6 baskets back to back while smoking a cigarette. And then he took in his bare feet.
He took great joy in the fact that he threw the ball at me when I wasn't looking, and I was
So, at this point in time, we're pledging to do a weekly
NFL. I think that is more than doable.
Fantasy football. Weekly roundup.
I would love it if we could get an extra person in.
Special guests.
Yeah.
Thomas Quinn.
Tom Quinn, I think.
Rob Rafton is just, like I say, I can't even talk about it. It fills me full of rage.
I wonder if we could, I know I keep saying this, but I wonder if we could get the out-of-towners on Skype to talk about it.
Yeah, Skype in. We need the out-of-towners. We need, Tim Lacey. What a disgrace. He's one of them, and he just
Tim Lacey
wins the fantasy league. Very modest about it. Doesn't do a podcast ever. He's that guy.
Do you reckon it's because he likes to?
Who else have we got?
So let's go. Well, let's run through the league. So we've got us two. You've got the other occupant of this house.
Oh yeah. I actually did throw out the podcast to her this evening, and her response was, "I don't have any words." I have. No words. Yeah. So, us three. Tom Quinn. Tim Lacey. Matthew Shitstain. oh my god, we have to get him on.
Can we get him a Mr. Hanky suit to wear?
After your
Don't, because I'll have to put on that face of, oh yeah, it was a great win for you. And we know for a fact.
I think you might have
He'll have won by 1 point. When his kicker will have kicked a 60-yard field goal in the last minute of the game to win by 1 point. I'll just want to literally run him through with any item that I can find.
What will be best will be when he comes and you have to sit there and listen to him tell you about how he got his what was it? What was last year's one? His scouts. He got the scouts on it, and
my scouting report came back with, this is the kicker I should play this week. I was like, you fucking shit.
It went down the wrong way. Oh my god, we've got to get him on.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Oh man.
Right, so
where was that?
That was I think. Oh crap! Right, me, you, Leanne, Tom, Tim, Matt, Phil, Rob, and then the 3 out-of-towners. So you've got James Forrester Gray, Newcastle based.
Yeah.
Matt Murray, current league champion, Newcastle based. Ooh. Does that mean I'm missing 2?
No.
Oh, fucking hell's sake. Me, you, Leanne, Tim, Tom, Phil, Rob, Matt, James, Colin, Ben. That's our 12.
So, for those listening and those astute listeners, you have to try and work out who the unnamed person was. That's a little competition.
He said he was a listener.
Comment
Comment,
way the comment
share,
goes, share,
feed.
and this will be the point.
Telekinesis.
This is the point where I can finally say something that we're going to start running is
Twitter poll.
we're going to run a competition. But I'm not going to tell anybody what that is right at this point in time.
Excellent.
We're going to run a podcast competition. Somebody will win a prize.
We need to also start, if we're doing this as a weekly feature.
I actually think one of our podcasters is definitely going to win the prize. I mentioned it to a couple of people, and all I got was, and I was like, what? What prize talking? Well, you know, I'll be up for that.
It's just on me. We could do, if we, it's got to a stage where we kind of need to do two. Oh no, because we could do a preview. So when we do the roundup,
review.
So when we do the roundup of the previous week, we'd have to, so that's how we'd have to do it. We'd have to do it. Oh well, unless you think we should do this. Unless you think we should do this in a different way.
We need a board so we can show the matchups for the next week.
That's why we have to do it. That's why we have to do it at work.
Yeah.
Because if we can do it at work, we can write it on the boards as we go.
Whiteboard.
And then it's a case of we do the review.
It's become all of the base.
We do the review or the review. I'm talking like an American now. We do the review of the previous week's games.
With some aluminum.
And then we do the preview of the following week's games. Yeah. And then we can put out the Twitter poll.
Yeah. Who's going to win?
Who's going to win the following matchups.
Yeah.
And see what the Twitterverse is saying.
I've not been doing much with the Twitter. I've been doing a little
that's why I think it's like
with the Instagram.
That's the best thing to
do. With the Facebook. I do announce stuff on Twitter, but I don't.
So I'll have a look. I'll have a quick cheeky skeg and see how many followers the cast has on Twitter. I'm going to go about 16, something like that.
I don't think anybody follows. I think
I'm following it.
I think I tag you most weeks, even if you're not on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, I'll tag Paul.
Shout out to the Borough, obviously.
The Borough.
So right, just read that at the top.
Nice.
So you know that podcast I've been mentioning today?
Love the fact that Paul has come on to the podcast and talked about another podcast for pretty much the entire time. Talk about advertising. I'm looking at speaking of I wasn't talking about time, but I'm looking at the time that this has been running. Nobody's going to listen to this podcast now. It's 8 hours long. So what I'm thinking is
14 followers.
Really? Wow.
I could name and shame, but I'm not gonna.
Are any of them legitimate? Are there any bots? That's a thing. I don't know what that means, but are any of them?
Who dis? Who dat?
I don't know, but somebody followed the Instagram, the podcast Instagram page today, and I was looking at the picture going, "Who is this? Is this a random person? Is this a random person? What?" And then went. No, I do know.
So the best thing about the fact of the podcast, the Twitter. Oh, I can't even think what it is. The Twitter
feed
handle, I suppose.
Twitter universe
is that the Twitter handle for the podcast has more followers than it is following, which I think is a good sign.
I think so. JK was saying that you have to follow people who follow you, and that's how you get more followers.
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't understand it.
But yeah, so
I should go on a course or something.
We'll put it out on. We'll put it out. Ooh.
Yeah, so we'll do like a Twitter blast. Yeah, I saw that earlier. It's a Captain Marvel thing.
Is that Brie Larson?
Brie Larson, yeah.
Did not know that. Anyway, getting back on track.
Or off track.
Not these guys.
Tune in, because in the theory being is that
you might actually see a fight between me and Matthew 2T early.
And I'd pay to see that. Tune in, because what might happen for the next 16, 17, 18 weeks is
it'll be from now until February.
Yeah. Might possibly do 2 podcasts a week. Because in theory, we should be doing the normal weekly podcast, and then we should be doing the NFL Fantasy podcast.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Live streaming.
Super Bowl.
Well, that as well, but... There's a challenge to you. If we get so many followers, so many patrons, whatever...
Patrons ain't a podcast.
We'll do a live podcast for the Super Bowl or for some of the games later on in the season.
Yeah, because I know how to do that now. I'm learning all sorts doing this podcast.
Excellent, I'll be up for that.
Video editing, audio editing, live streaming, do it all.
I'll need to speak to some of my mates actually, because I've got some mates who are Steelers fans. And they'd potentially be up for like sort of coming on and doing.
Anyone's welcome to
bits
do
and
the podcast
pieces.
at any point in time. It's an open invitation. My door is always open, except when it's closed.
Definitely closed.
It's closed right now, so don't come round.
You can see.
That one definitely see.
You can't see. Well, you might be able to see.
might be able to. So, on that note, tune in next week, because I'm going to have to try and... I might even start coding this at the end of this for speed.
Well, it's going to be coming out tomorrow, isn't it? So...
It's going to have to.
Basically.
It's going to have to.
Because the season starts in
a number of hours.
26 hours or something like that.
Yeah. So, tune in. Check out what's happening in our fantasy league. Check out what's happening in the NFL league. Check out what's happening in the world of wrestling.
You know it, baby.
And on that note, it's probably about time to leave it there, because it's an 8-hour podcast.
I wish.
Right. It's bye-bye from me.
Thank you, viewers.
It's bye-bye from
Thank
me.
you, listeners.
Bye-bye!
So there you go. What do you think to that? Maybe that'll help you draft the perfect fantasy team, and gives you a little update on what's going on in the wrestling world right now, and a little bit of UFC. For you YouTube watchers, I think I'm supposed to tell you to like and subscribe and do all that. As I mentioned so far through this podcast, we are going to do a competition coming up in the future. Somebody will win a prize. That competition might or might not relate to likes and subscriptions. Who knows? We'll find out further down the line. So yeah, jump over to thecookiecast.com. Let us know what you're thinking about what we're doing at the moment, what you want to see more of. You know the drill by now. Check out all our social media outlets. So yeah, hopefully this will be a weekly thing. Me, Paul, and other members of the Fantasy League getting together, talking fantasy football, and as is always the case, other such things. But until what will be next week, I'll let you go for now. Tune in next time to see how we've done Week 1 Fantasy Football NFL Season 2018.